You know what? I'll just say this. Is the grocery store gonna get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned?
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video. I am off camera today. I am dressed to skate. I did just put my hair up and I kind of like the way it looks, but my makeup looks weird today because the finishing powder I used to set my face is like the wrong shade. So I'm like slightly pink. I just washed all my makeup brushes, so that's in the way. But I thought I would show you my reorganized yarn haul. I wanted to do a yarn stash. I'm gonna flash my stash. Those two suitcases right there next to my hand weights are full of yarn that I plan to crochet into house things, not necessarily garments. So this is just my garment and accessory yarn stash. I keep it in this dresser, and the things that I'm already working with or planning to cast on immediately, I keep in this basket. I also have yarn in other baskets. That's for decor. That is going to get cast on with what I'm spinning right now. That is 3 skeins of my favorite yarn I just display behind me in my weekly video. But here I have the skeins that I'm working on right now. This, in case you don't know, is already being worked into my Chained Oblivion cardigan. I should finish this sooner than later. I just have other things I'm working on, including my hand-spun henwife shawl, which is a slow grow for me. I have a hard time focusing on lace knitting charts, but I digress. This is the main color, these 2 skeins, and this one in front of my crochet granny square v-neck pullover that I'm working on steadily. And this is a sweater quantity that I'm going to knit into an Irene Lynn pattern that was so graciously gifted to me by a viewer. I talked about wanting to knit an Irene Lynn pattern and they sent it to me right away, which was such a lovely surprise. And this is a caked skein that matches this one here, which is a very lovely long wool mixed with black merino. So it's kind of rustic, dare I say a bit toothy, but also soft. So I don't know, I think I want to do like a loose fitting knit tank top that I can wear under a blazer. I'm just afraid I might overheat. So I don't know what I was thinking about doing with this, but might have to put it back in my stash. There's so much yarn in here that I'm excited to knit with. The yarn I'm most excited to knit with is definitely this Silk Mohair by Isayar. And I'm gonna hold it with Knitting for Olives merino. It's like a super lightweight fingering. This is their dark ochre color, and it's gonna look a lot brighter. I'll double with this golden, I think this is shade 22, yes. So if you've ever wondered how bright this is, it is bright and I love it. I have a single skein of sock yarn here. This is 60% merino, 25% suri alpaca, and 15% nylon. I think these would make the most cheerful hand knit socks, which would be fun to wear with this sweater one day. I already know exactly which pattern I'm knitting this into. It is a pattern by Claudia, I can't remember her last name, but I met her at Rhinebeck last year and she was so gracious and so nice. She came out with the most gorgeous pattern book. And when I saw this pattern in her library on Ravelry, I knew I wanted to knit it, and I found the yarn for me. So I'm very excited to have, it's gonna be a gorgeous, bright, lacy drop shoulder. Can't wait. Let's see, I'm gonna go through these quickly now. This is 6 skeins, 50 grams each of Quince & Company's Finch. It's a fingering weight yarn, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. Oh, now my nail polish is showing itself. I tried getting this on camera earlier. It's a little chipped, but it'll do. I did this on Monday, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm on day 6 of this nail polish, and it's just the most stunning color. I don't even care that it's chipped. This is the discontinued, well, I guess all of it is now, Peary yarn from Brooklyn Tweed. I found this at the thrift store. This is the shade Ginger Snap. I have 4 intact skeins and like what appears to be a little less than 2 more. So about the same quantity. These are very similar. I have 4.5 skeins of the Green Mountain Spinnery Sock Art Lana 2-ply sock weight yarn. That's a sock weight yarn. These are the same base. And this is the color Tronito. It's not black, it's not olive, it's not navy, it's all of them. I'm actually thinking of knitting this as the contrast shade to these 3 naturally dyed skeins of the same base. And I want to knit these into a pattern by Teti. And that's my fingering weight sweater quantity drawer. Here I have quite a selection of Shetland yarn. This is my shade card that I picked up years ago now. I have 5 50-gram skeins of the Le Petit Lamb's Wool by Biche & Bouche. These are random skeins from Jamieson & Smith that I naturally dyed with black walnuts. They're hiding another skein of the black. This is a cone I caked up. Here are 4 skeins in 2 different colors from Phenol Garn. It's their Rauma base, and then I have 2 more skeins in a natural shade, or a neutral shade anyway. I have 2 random skeins of the Spin Cycle yarn, and I have 2 skeins from Catskill Merino. They're at Rhinebeck every year. You might see them there. Anyway, some more stuff. Here we're starting to get a little bit more random. These are my one-off skeins of the same fingering to sport. I have almost 8 skeins here of Quince & Company's Chickadee. It is a sport weight yarn. I've been putting off this sweater quantity as well. It's just like the Finch, but a little bit more thick. I have random fingering weight skeins, 4-ply, 2-ply, more 2-ply. These look the same, but they're different. So this is my random single skein drawer. I do have a sweater that I knit with this leftover and this leftover that I'm actually going to unravel, so that I will add. Here we're getting a little thicker. I have 6 skeins of Hairstyle Designs Highland yarn in the black color. I also have a bunch of random worsted weight skeins that I think would make a nice shawl. And I have 4 skeins of Jill Draper's. I just bought that. Random DK Superwash. I just liked the vibe of this color, so I put that there. And this is like an Aran weight local long wool, and this is Nightshades. I also have a sweater quantity that I'm going to unravel, so I need to knit something from here before I unravel that sweater. And last, I have my worsted-ish yarns. Actually, these are more Superwash DK. These are actually fingering skeins, but I'm going to hold them double in a little sock moment. This is all my Let Lopi leftovers. I have some Swedish kind of like recycled yarn. I had so much fun the day that I opened all these drawers, pulled everything out of one drawer at a time and rearranged everything back in a new order. Something that was similar but still different. And I just feel like I can see everything a little bit easier this way. And it's kind of organized from smallest to biggest, so that really helps. I've not been knitting a whole lot. I did refurbish. No, that's not the word. I up-potted my plants. And if you can't hear my neighbor's dog barking, I'm very, very glad for you. I listen to this dog bark 7 days a week, all day long. And it's driving me nuts. Cut her back a little bit here and somewhere else. I'm gonna propagate those cuttings. I have it in water right now, just by the window. And I up-potted like almost everything. The spider plant, I think anyway, I'm not going to go through all of them, but a lot of them needed it, and very happy about that. I always cut back my little pothos plants unless it's this big boy, which I need to be better at training to grow vertically. This one no longer fit on the shelf, so I needed a spot for it that wasn't on the shelf, and I did finish spinning the singles for like 150 grams of a 2-ply. So no, I lied. I finished 1 bobbin of singles. I'm gonna start on the 2nd bobbin today. And like I said, I just kind of took care of this room of plants, mostly just this room. I was inspired by a plant I have over here that really needs some help. And I got around to everything but this one. But this is a plant that was given to me many years ago, and it's just too much at this point. So I'm gonna cut it back and reroot it from this really happy, fresh growth at the top. I think I might try to propagate it with the midsections also, just to see if I can. And I will probably cut it back a few inches off the base, add some more soil because this is sunken in a little bit. This is our big window where we get the most air drawn into the house, and then I have the windows open in the sunroom also, and I set this fan up to blow kind of downward because I learned that if my fan is pointed upwards, I get a crap ton of cat hair stuck in the cobwebs of my chandelier, and it is a pain to clean. So the rule is the fan points down, and I love this diffuser from Nest, I think. No, Voluspa. This is the Forbidden Fig. Love this. I just flipped the reeds over upside down this morning, and I set it in front of the fan. It makes the whole downstairs smell delicious. This fan has already built up quite a bit of crud. I only clean my fans like once a year, usually before I put them in storage. This one's been blowing for a few weeks now. So anyway, that's gross, but I should clean them more than, I should clean it again. I did get little flip top jars for my kombucha. I told you I'd update you on my kombucha game. So I cleaned this out with hot soapy water and white vinegar. It's a flour base, but it just has a good shape, and it's nice and large, and it's not heavy, and it's easy to pick up and pour. We picked up a bottle of this local kombucha brand. I actually don't really like the flavor of theirs. It's kind of weird, but it's still a nice base to start. I think you can start with literally any kombucha to start your own batch, but what I do is, I will show you. I take my dishwasher is running, and I know it's probably loud. So I take a Pyrex measuring cup, and I brew 4 tea bags, black tea bags, in 2 cups of boiling water for 3 to 5 minutes. I remove the tea bags, and then I pour in a cup of sugar, more or less. Sometimes I pour it haphazardly, and it is more or less. And then I mix it up till it's dissolved, and then I top it off with as much cold water as possible to bring the temperature down. Then I fill this with water about halfway, add my warm or hot mixture, so it's like lukewarm room temperature, and then you add about a cup, 2 cups of, like, you could do like a can of kombucha, or like, half of a GT's size bottle, whatever, just like a starter, and then cover it up, tie it off. This is hand spun, obviously. And then a week later, I already bottled mine up the other day because I gave this a taste, and it tasted good, not vinegary yet. So I was like, I might as well try to start my second ferment, which is the only difference is that this is like open air, and then this is closed off. So this is going to help it build carbonation. It already was a little tiny bit carbonated before I put it in here, which I think is a good sign, but you can see if I turn it, like there's some bubbles in there. I need it to have more bubbles, and I think it would be much better if I had topped it off higher, so it'd be less space for the air, whatever. I don't know the science, but I didn't have quite enough fluid because I had taken a sampling. I think in the future, this container is enough for 3 of these little bottles. And these bottles are perfect for like 2 servings. So I already opened one yesterday. I'm gonna try to wait to open them again because I don't think that they're quite carbonated enough. Maybe like a week's time would be a little too much time. It all depends on the temperature. It's kind of an art. It's not, it could be a science if you're willing to measure all variables, but that is not me. This is a fiddle leaf fig cutting, huge cutting that I took from a tree somewhere in the house. I'm gonna propagate that as well. I have one in like every room at this point, but I'm just not, I was looking through Ravelry today, scouring my library, scouring my favorites, thinking about what patterns I could talk about, but I already have so many ideas, so many things that I want to knit and I have the yarn for, or I want to spin the yarn for, and I'm just not going to go there this week. I'd rather be making the things. So I'm going to take this yarn off my wheel. Can I show you my nail polish really quick? This is from Hollow Taco. It's called 50 Shades of Greige. I can't get the camera to pick up the holographicness of it all, but wow, my cuticles are trash. These singles aren't. I'm obsessed. There's a little thin spot there. Pretty fun. I can't wait for this to be done. And then after I'm done spinning this and it's plied together, I'm gonna use this and the white yarn I already have to knit Andrew Mowry's Hey Sailor. That's the plan. I'm gonna do this with 2 hands in a second, but that's my day today. I'm gonna spin up my wheel. I'm gonna roller skate outside. I had the best time skating this week. I met the nicest people at the lake. There's this couple with a stroller and they were both roller skating together, and I hadn't seen them before, and it's not every day. I probably see a skater every time I'm out, another quad skater, but it's rare that they enthusiastically wave and say hello. So that was great, and we had a brief chat. I actually have to go upstairs and grab my fiber supply. This is the project I've been carrying around with me. I've not really been knitting too much, but I'm ready to do the next step before joining the front 2 sides. I think I need to put it on a bigger needle so I can start to try it on too, so I'll do that as well. I need to turn my fan back on, so that's another reason I'm not getting a full video out today. Hello. Here's the Star Baby cam. She cannot hear me because she's deaf, but there she is. And this is my fiber I need. I put this tree back in my window. It was living in this window for a minute. This is a sad, pathetic fiddle leaf cutting from years ago. That other tree was just too big. I kept having to walk around it. That's where the kitchen cuttings came from. It had just grown so lopsided, I had to do something. While I'm here, do you want to see my current cosmetic favorites? I think about sharing this with you and then I never do. This is where my brushes live. I just finished cleaning them last night, so I leave them to dry flat until they're totally dry, and then I put them back. I use my beauty blenders to death, but I keep a rotation and I try to clean them every time I use them. So I kind of oscillate between brushes for my complexion products and sponges. I don't have a preference unless, well, I do have a preference depending on the product, which I'll mention, but this is like all the cosmetics that I use semi-daily. Like I don't use all of them every day, obviously, and I have like 1 or 2 things that I might alternate. These are my like primers and lip products that I use at the beginning of my process sometimes. Always a lip product, but here's my favorites. So I've been using the Lisa Eldridge skin tint for a while. This is really glowy. It's very light coverage. Lisa Eldridge has the very best neutral and olive undertone, especially light olive undertone cosmetic complexion products. This is her foundation. This is the newest thing in my collection. I wanted to boycott the US economy, so I went across the pond over to England and I got myself a new foundation. This is the shade 9. If I were to swatch this on the back of my hand, it would appear darker than any other complexion product I own, but when it's on the skin, it matches perfect. I'm not going to swatch anything because I don't feel like it, but these are my 2 favorite concealers. They're both Hourglass. This is the shade Cream in this light pinkish shade for under my eyes. It's too light in the summer, and I have Oat, which is too yellow any time of the year, but it's what I have, and I like the formula a lot. The Hourglass shade range is very skewed towards yellow. I don't know why. They have not figured out what neutral means. They've been around for a long time. They're a very well-known brand, but they suck at finding a neutral undertone. Everything's pink, everything's yellow or peach. It's chaos, but the formula is amazing. It's high coverage, dries down perfect. It's not too drying. I think that the NARS Creamy Concealer is more drying than this. Same coverage level, but this is better, and it's best applied with a sponge. A damp beauty blender is the best, unless you're doing a spot correction, which I always prefer a small, very small brush. Even like an eyeshadow brush is better for spot concealing than a sponge, but a sponge is the best for that concealer. Also, I love, and that's what I'm wearing today, the Huda Beauty Faux Filter Concealer. I have a perfect shade match in Coconut Flakes. And those are my complexion products. I just got this for review. It's brand new from Estee Lauder, and no one's paying me to say this, but I really love it. It's the wrong shade for me. This is shade 2C3, which is just next to my actual shade, 2N1, which wasn't available to review. It was like out of stock. So I asked for this, and I don't regret it because I can make it work. It looks a little red on me, but the shade is right. The undertone is off. It's a powder foundation, but I use it over top in my T-zone, over top of my foundation and concealer products to set them. And it is the best full coverage, long wear, hot summer product ever. I think I might buy the refill in my actual shade and just eat the $39 difference. It means I got a discount on buying the full thing. But yeah, I think I might do that. I'm waiting to see, because I don't need it. I'm not gonna buy it yet, but I think I might, the next time there's like a 20% off sale, I think I'm gonna buy that. This is probably the next best thing, and this is marketed as a finishing powder. This is the mini Charlotte Tilbury in the shade Fair. I don't set my under eyes with this because it's too drying, it's too heavy. The very best, in my opinion, under eye setting powder above all else is Pat McGrath. It is light, it is bright, it is matte, but it has this ever so slight shimmer to it that does not pick up as a sparkle, and it'll just provide the best setting, like flawless situation. I got this to review, and it's Huda Beauty setting powder in this shade Cupcake. I'm obsessed with the fragrance of this. I would wear it as a perfume if it were not sold out. I have the Ami Colé powder, which is the opposite of the Huda Beauty. Huda Beauty setting powder is matte, matte, matte. If you have dry skin, this could be your best friend if you need a setting powder. I hate wearing setting powder unless I have to, but I do find that, especially in the summer, my T-zone gets so oily. This had been a great powder bronzer. This is the shade Into Sun. No surprise, it's like the best shade for light skin. I've used it all up. I keep this to use as an eyeshadow, and it's my everyday eyeshadow kind of crease shade. It's like no makeup look, and this per ounce is not as affordable as it seems. Like, this is $36, which is relatively cheap for a powder bronzer, but you don't get a lot of product, so you'll hit pan much sooner than something like Armani, which is twice the price, but more than twice the product. This brand, Viv Cosmetics, it is the brainchild of Genevieve. I don't know her last name. She's on YouTube. I need two hands to show you how good this is. Okay, I have you haphazardly propped up here on my vanity, but this is a cream highlighter, and I don't like cream highlighters typically. I find that they're way too glittery. You can see that this has a very opaque, let me see if I can get more light. That's worse, but whatever, we'll go with it. This is this shade Bijou, and it has the most glowing, pearlescent look. When you blend it in on the hand, it looks heavy, tinfoil-y, like a golden tinfoil, but somehow on the face, it is the most subtle, natural looking inner glow. Like there's no glitter. There is no fake, metallic, weird patchiness going on. It just blends amazing. Like this mixed in with your favorite foundation or concealer would be most similar to Charlotte Tilbury's Faux Filter. But this is, I don't remember what I paid for this, but it's a very reasonable price. It is better than high-end, better than designer, like better than Dior, better than everything else I've ever swatched. It doesn't have a weird smell, so you're not wearing perfume on your face. This is the Nova Glow Liquid Light, again in the shade Bijou. She just came out with a pink shade. I think that'd be great if you have cool undertones, but I love this. And I also cannot get enough of Viv's Cream Contour Bronzer. This is the lightest shade. It is the shade Light. And you can see that it's just dark enough to be a bronzer on my skin tone, but it's so subtle and it's so olive undertoned. You never find an olive undertone bronzer like this. I think maybe Charlotte Tilbury's Fair could be close, but let me swatch this for you so you know what I'm saying. The packaging and the aesthetic of it reminds me so much of the Say bronzer, which I've also used. I used to have that in the shade Light before they came out with Fair, but it's the most subtle bronze shade. This is a cream bronzer for girls that don't want to look like they're wearing cream bronzer, but there's so much product in this. This is like 33 grams, 1.16 ounces. This is gonna last the rest of my life. My favorite go-to contour, because that's what I wear as a bronzer, but my favorite contour is Fenty Amber and the contour stick. It's just the best shade. It's a little too gray in the summer, so this is my winter product, and then this will be my like summer version of that. They're very similar. This has a little bit more gray to it. And the very best mascara of all time. This mascara makes my lashes longer. Anytime I switch to a different mascara, I regret it. And it just has a very basic wand. It doesn't flake, it doesn't smudge. I don't wear eyeshadow every day, but when I do, it's just the Master Mattes palette by Makeup by Mario. Speaking of powder, I like to do my brows with the Anastasia brow powder. If I'm not using the brow powder, I do like the Anastasia, I got this as a sample, but her medium brown shade brow products are the best match for my brows, because it's like dark but not too warm and not too ashy. She has an ash brown if you have ashy brown hair, which I do. The top half of my hair is ashy and then the bottom half is kind of sun bleached, so it's like more golden. I have the powder pencil, which is I've had this for years, and then I replaced it with this, and these will last forever. And this sample I've been using for like months and months. What else can I say about my cosmetics? I also have the RMS bronzer in the shade Beach Walk Betty. I don't get the best application with this. I find it can go a little patchy, but I think that speaks more to the tools I'm using and whether I've set my face well enough. It's like if you have too much cream products on, some pigmented powders are just not going to go on evenly over top. You kind of have to powder everything down before adding things like this. I don't like this color on me. It looks too fake. It just does not feel real. This is the shade Bohemian Girl. It's just not natural looking enough. The blushes I use the most, I don't even really like. I just have these Hourglass palettes from a couple years ago. This is like more than a few years ago, but I actually bought this one from their website after this one, even though this came out sooner, because I wanted to try their bronzer and some darker finishing shades. I don't really use this ever. I hate their highlighters. I hate their highlighters so much. I will never buy another product from Hourglass again that includes a highlighter because I just hate it so much. The other ones are too bright. They're too shiny. The blush is fine, but those two shades are like identical. So I don't know why they did that, but this is not my favorite either. This one's okay, but it's like purple. This bronzer is way too red. It's too much red in the undertone, and I use these two finishing powders mixed with it to make it work. This highlighter is just way too dark for me, so I regret both of these. They are not worth the money, and I'd rather have something else. Pat McGrath powder bronzer. I also regret this, but it does actually. I wish I never bought this because it's not great. It's too matte. I feel like the best bronzer that I've ever swatched is the Armani brand, which is the next one I'll ever buy, but I'm going to give myself a year or two to work through what I have, especially my powder products. I'd rather hit pan on every single bronzer that I already own before I buy another. But if I were to buy another bronzer, I would buy the Armani. This is the shade Nude Honey. It's like the second to lightest, and it's just too matte. It can also go on patchy if I don't do a powdered set of my cream products first, but I think that the Viv contour and this are really happy together. This has a little blue in it. This is a little too much red in it, so it becomes super neutral combined, which really works for me. Welcome to this week's garden tour. It was like a monsoon yesterday. So this is the first time I've been outside since the rain. And sadly, these kale plants have been totally decimated by caterpillars. So I've been picking them off when I see them over here in this box, which is not fast enough. Our peaches have a ton of fruit. I'm really keeping up on removing as much of the leaf curl as I can find, but sadly there is some that is a little out of my reach. I might get the ladder out and try to mitigate that, but all the little blueberries are teeny tiny on this plant. This one gives rather small fruit, but there's some good looking fruits on this one. I'm covering this one because these fruits are so yummy looking. They're the best tasting. They're pretty big, at least in comparison. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but this put on a bunch of fruit last year and I got none of it from the birds, or thanks to the birds. So I'm covering it this year, seeing how that does. I can't wait to take all of these bulbs out of this space. I'm trying not to move anything that has matured, except for that area. I'm just not thrilled with it. It's just, they're too densely planted to manage after the blooms are gone. So I'm going to donate those bulbs to my neighbor's garden, which I've been working the last couple years and slowly adding to. But I have black raspberries here amongst this pawpaw tree and some hostas in the shade of that. My raspberries have really sprung up. The echinacea are wilted right now. They have plenty of water, but they're being a bit fussy. This branch on my fig tree has got to go. I'm gonna wait till the fruit are done fruiting first. I'll cut it all the way back. I mean, it's only like a foot from the border anyway. But these are some hostas that were given to me by my neighbor. And I've kind of just been figuring out where the hostas are happy. And it's strange because in areas that are like really shaded, you'd think they'd be happy, and in other areas they're not. Like Very happy. I mean, of course, next to the compost bin. Very happy. Very happy. I had a identical one here. That one is like barely hanging on in the shade of this bleeding heart. And this one's doing okay, but it gets a little bit more sun and it's a fraction of the size. So maybe it's just a little stressed out here. And then I had another one too, so I had 4, and that one is just like gone forever, dead. So, and then I had a hosta identical to that far one over here. I was really working with symmetry when I planted out these plants, and that's gone too. I mean, I let the space be taken over, but it is no longer here. So I have a lot of plants maturing now in my garden that I do want to move next season, or maybe like at the end of the fall. I will dig up and replant when it's time to like trim things back, I think. My bird feeder has brought a bunch of things to seed. I have no idea what they are. I should probably tear them up. That's gonna be a task. I might be better off just throwing some cardboard down and mulch because this is a pretty thick carpet of whatever's in that bird seed. Looks like millet, probably. So the flowers are starting to fall off the columbine, and we're getting these cute little seed pods. So I might try to collect seed. I just love to create new plants. My goal is to one day have enough plants to like plant out all the areas near my house, and there's a lot of shade. So that's why I've been not propagating, but when I saw that my hellebores, I have 2 kinds back here. I have a black one, which is like very basic flower, and then I have this beautiful white one that turns green as it goes to seed. There's some baby slugs on these. Anyway, these seeds germinated in the early spring, and I am potting them up. This one has 2 leaves. Well, a couple do already. But the I potted them originally 4 per container, and then I've been up potting them as I flip my compost bin. So I need to up pot these ones. I've been letting this volunteer tomato grow up between them because it could replace a couple I have planted out already that aren't thriving as much as I hoped. But I want to pull out some of this goutweed, and like I said, those daffodils. I'm gonna wait till the greenery has died back and things are a little less full, and I'm gonna retool this space. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm not doing that. And my strawberries are putting on tons of fruit. Some of them are probably not gonna make it. They're probably a little too small. But this planter box over here gets more direct sun, and I have a couple ripening fruits here. I don't think I've ever gotten this many strawberries in my garden before. I bought a lot of these plants years ago, and I had just planted them in the wrong spaces where they were not getting enough sun, but they stayed alive. So they really came to life. And then I got, I think, at least 1 plant from my mother-in-law, but I can't recall which bed I planted it in. I just have those 2 beds, and then I popped a random one here, which I'm gonna move out one day when I retool the areas a little bit. But here I have a white or red echinacea. This is a shishito pepper. This is my butterfly bush. This is a pink echinacea, which I don't feel like does best planted by itself. I mean, it's a very young plant. This is just weeds. There was a white echinacea here, but I think it died back. And then this is chives that I started from seed. Didn't know where to put there. I'm gonna move my thyme plant into this container here, which has kind of become a cat bed. I think that's why the echinacea died, because I noticed a cat laying on that spot. Oh, and there's more echinacea here. I wish I didn't keep them in those boxes. I wish it was just strawberries. It would feel a little less chaotic, but I don't know. I wanted to try a little randomness out, you know? So there's just a lot growing, which is wonderful to see. A lot being eaten as well. These kale plants, I didn't even notice had been destroyed. Like completely wiped out. You can't really see them amongst all the sticks. I have all these sticks in my bed, in case you don't know, to keep the cats, the feral cats that I feed, from bedding down in these boxes. There's a cat bed right here. You can see that spot there. I'll let them have one spot, but they can't have all the spots because I want to grow something. But it's hard to keep up with the caterpillars. We're trying to kill them, but they're just, yeah. Caterpillars are having a field day right now. But I'm also growing basil wherever I can. I had a good time last year growing them kind of in this like semi-shaded area. Gets a little sun, but not a lot. And I put these marigolds out here, but I think they might actually do better. Those look like they're getting eaten. These little marigolds, I think I might put them out front instead. And I didn't put any zinnias out front. I should have. That would have been smart. But anyway, my compost bin is ideal temperature. We pulled this up and there was a snake hanging out on top of this paper bag. I wonder if maybe oh, there it is. Hello. I have a snake in my compost bin. If you know what kind of snake that is, I'd love to find out. I'm not gonna touch it because I don't want to bother it. I'd like it to stay here. Very cool. We are gonna have so many black raspberries this year. I can't wait. They are my favorite. And this black raspberry, I'm going to sacrifice this cane, dig it up, plant it in the neighbor's yard. Behind this tree here, there's a nice shaded area just behind this compost bin that I think will be a good spot to have another berry patch. I think that the black raspberries, they do much better without having any support system, and I struggle to maintain my own raspberry bed, and I want to try doing it in another area, even though I do like them a lot. I hate the way that my bulbs look after a couple months. I did tie these ones up and it's a little more tolerable. Maybe I'll come in and do that with the rest of them, but they're just kind of chaos. That's it for this week's garden tour. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care.
Okay, calm down.
So last night, the Gazan photojournalist Hassan Eslaith, who provided widely circulated photographs of the October 7th attack, was killed by Israel while recuperating in Nasser Hospital from burns he sustained in a previous attack. Okay, he was killed along with one other person, and that makes Elsa the 178th journalist killed since the genocide began. Israel also bombed the European hospital in Khan Yunis today multiple times, killing at least 28 people. This is, unbelievable. Over the weekend, an Israeli gunboat murdered the 12-year-old Mohammed al-Bardawi on Rafah Beach. He was one of the eyewitnesses to the massacre of the 15 rescue workers, paramedics who were executed by Israel. He recounted what he saw to the New York Times. And so he was killed, and he's 12 years old. And in the West Bank, Israeli soldiers shot and beat a young man, Mohammed al-Kasba, who was entering the Kalandia refugee camp. This is something that, would be front page news. If any of these things that we just recounted happened to Israelis, it would be front page news. And then you have Netanyahu saying some really scary stuff about obviously in seeming defiance of the opening of channels between the U.S. and Hamas.
If I may say something about this, one interesting thing that I don't know how it's been reported in other places, but on the 27th of January, the Palestinians effectively annulled the effects of the genocide by, in a very organized fashion, marching northward from wherever they had been displaced to, back to northern Gaza, back to Gaza City, back to the various camps around Gaza City. back to the small towns north of Khan Yunis and so on. That was actually a defeat for Israel, because whatever gains Israel might have thought it had made, and the United States as well, saying, we're going to build a Riviera, Trump talking about, building, I guess, the Trump Hotel or whatever. The fact that, thousands of Palestinians marched in an organized fashion on that one day with drones filming them, with young Palestinian men climbing up cell towers and flying large Palestinian flags. That was a directly in-your-face sucker move to Netanyahu. And right after that, and I take that as an enormous victory for the Palestinian resistance, that act itself, and I don't think we've actually emphasized how important that was. People are not going to move. Right. I mean, people are basically saying they can kill us here. Right. When I was in Gaza in 2014, basically what people said at that time, and by the way, honestly, I thought what I had seen there was the worst possible situation. And I've been to Iraqi cities that have been effectively leveled. I mean, people were saying at the time, Palestinians in Gaza, that this is the worst it's ever been. And then, of course, this happens. They know that they are not going to be able to return if they leave Gaza. If they go to Egypt, the return is not going to be allowed. So they don't want to leave. That's why they marched back to, whatever they had to find to live in northern Gaza. I have some friends who are still there. They just will not leave. And that stubbornness comes from this certainty that if they leave, they will never be able to return to Gaza. And if they leave Gaza, there is no hope for them to return back to 48 Israel. I mean, most of the people I've met in that region have an idea that at some point, Israel is going to decide to say, okay, you can come back and live next to us. You may not live in the home you had in 1948, but you can live somewhere in that area. That is what people imagine, In fact, I would say I have yet to meet a Palestinian who lives in the West Bank, Gaza, and in Jerusalem, who says all the Israelis should be kicked out and we should go back and get the land. In fact, that is not how most people think. Most people think we would just like to go and live there. We're not going to get into the details. We would like to live there. So I just want to say that I think what happened on January 27th is extremely significant, and it shows that the Palestinian resistance is alive.
And when you see this journalist who was killed, and again, he was killed while recovering from another attack, and you see these disgusting journalists, Israeli journalists, who are saying that he's Hamas, he's embedded, he's not a journalist, he's Hamas. Meanwhile, you have literal Israeli journalists who are embedded in the IDF, which commits more terrorism than anyone else could even dream of committing. I mean, even if they had all day, they wouldn't be able to commit the amount of terrorism and collective punishment. So like the absolute nerve of these Israeli journalists who are accusing someone else of being a terrorist, not being a real journalist, it is just so shameful. And we know that they target journalists. It's disgusting because they're truth tellers. And then to see this child, Mohammed al-Bardawi, a young witness to the March 23rd attack on medics in Gaza, who was killed on Saturday when an Israeli gunboat fired on Rafah Beach. His father, Saeed, asked our colleague Bilal Abu Yazan today for a photo of his son when he interviewed them together for our report. I mean, it is just, and there. Mohammed helped our investigation by outlining what he saw when the IDF attacked the convoy of medics. Saeed and Mohammed were on their way to go fishing, a family tradition, before dawn on March 23rd when they were detained by the IDF before the attack. So again, I'm so moved also when I see things of like Palestinians risking their lives to save dogs or cats, like going back into houses to take them out, or the incredible like solidarity that they have, or, thanking the students in the United States who are protesting. And then my heart breaks into a million pieces also. And I'm just full of rage and despair.
Because if we are actually people of conscience, if we have, if we are journalists, whatever, we should say whatever we feel is correct. I say it. I am not afraid to say it. And the reason I'm not afraid is not because I don't fear, but it's because I know that what they are doing is so bad. And that if we don't stand up against this, it gives them carte blanche to go from here, there, and everywhere. When the United States under Trump dropped the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan, they didn't allow reporters to go to Nangarhar district to look and see what happens there. We still don't really know what happened in that district that borders Pakistan. It was the largest non-nuclear bomb dropped on human beings. We still don't know what happened there. I mean, just think about that, guys. Think about that. We still don't know. And that was in Trump's first term. That really it makes me so both sad and like somewhere inside me, there's a fire.